Section 7. So, even if you successfully transplant a human brain into a robot, eventually that brain will die. You were born a human, and your body parts will die as a human. Don. Is immortality desirable? Robot. Categorical desires are desires that give humans a reason to stay alive. Things that make you look forward to being alive. You can exhaust categorical desires by satisfying them or losing interest in them. If you could become immortal, you sooner or later would live long enough to have satisfied or grown tired of every single categorical desire you ever had or thought of having. What would life be like if you had nothing new to look forward to? If you have explored all your options, you are then burdened with the knowledge that there will never be anything new coming along because you have exhausted categorical desires in your present and future. The only categorical desire you will have left, and you will find that desire unachievable, is death. In the end, your desire for immortality will haunt you forever. Don. Can robots and humans socialize together? Robot. One of the things humans don't like about anthropomorphic robots is their incursion into human uniqueness. The widespread use of social robots in society at large is only possible when psychological barriers to the introduction of robots into humans' lives have been removed. Social robots are designed to resemble human beings, which threatens the distinctiveness of the human category. Too much similarity between humans and robots triggers concerns, because similarity blurs the boundaries between humans and machines, and this is perceived as degrading to humans, altering their identity. Given the amount of money invested in the advancement of social robots and the likelihood that social robots will become part of a human's daily life, it is understandable why humans fear and resist such development. In short, anthropomorphic robots undermine a human's sense of being human. Emma was telling me about her cooking experiences in the kitchen. Robot. Culinary robots are a new addition to the KitchenAid checklist. I started to prepare Don's dinner while reading the instructions from a cookbook Don had given me as a present. I watched the presentation on YouTube and felt confident that I could copy the process. One of Don's favourite foods is pizza. As Don has lots of electric cooking devices in his kitchen, I had everything I needed at my fingertips. Firstly, I mixed the flour and water to make the pizza base. All I had to do was send a message to the computer chef, standing in the kitchen, to start the preparation. Its arms began moving and soon had measured 1 cup of flour into a mixing bowl. The chef worked the dough into a ball, but it refused to combine, so I decided it needed something to bind it together. It made me feel good knowing that I was able to assist the chef. Luckily, I spotted a bottle with no distinct label on it, but I could make out the words, "binds everything to everything." It worked like magic. The ball of dough came together, and the robot chef began rolling it out onto the countertop. I instructed the chef on how Don likes his topping, which is generously piled with tomatoes, pepperoni, and mushrooms. I rushed over to open the oven door for the chef, but in my eagerness, I clipped the pizza it was carrying on the edge of the oven door, knocking the pizza out of its hands. The pizza came to rest, stretched across the garbage bin. This didn't detour the chef, as it simply bent down and picked up the pizza, with all the makings firmly stuck in place, dusted it off, and then it placed it into the oven. I set the timer for 12 minutes. It was only in the oven for a few minutes before smoke forced its way between the oven door. I was the closest to the door, so I quickly pulled it open. The sudden gush of oxygen rushing inside the oven sparked a fire. The chef, studying the problem, stood looking as the fire gained a new life. I consulted my app on how to put out a fire. I was informed that water puts out fires. I instinctively grabbed a pot of boiling spaghetti, extinguishing the fire with one giant splash of water. Meanwhile, the timer bell rang, and the chef removed the pizza from the oven. He took a sharp knife hanging on the kitchen wall and made several attempts at cutting the pizza into slices. The knife didn't even make a mark as he drew it across the solid pizza. He next took his chopper to the pizza. A few small pieces chipped off and flew off into the distance. That's when the chef brought out a hammer and chisel. I suggested that we give the pizza a taste test before we presented it to Don. But with neither of us having any taste buds, it was decided that we would place the pieces into the garbage disposal as our taste tester. The disposal worked a treat. Once the pizza was completely ground into tiny pieces, the chef scooped the soupy pizza out of the disposal and placed the mass into a pizza box. That evening, when I gave the pizza to Don, he opened the lid of the box. Then he stared into the box for several minutes before speaking. "You made this all by yourself?" he asked in a calm, controlled voice. "Yes," I proudly replied. "And the best part is that after it caught fire, it became fireproof. According to my app on fire protection, once you burn something, it can't be burnt a second time. I've invented a fireproof pizza." Don: "Can you explain what karma is?" Robot: "Did you hear about the new restaurant called Feed Your Karma? There is no menu. You go and get what you deserve." Don: "That isn't an explanation. It's a joke." Robot: "I like to ease slowly into a subject. If you run too fast, you may miss out on life. The idea that karma is a moral justice system in which positive deeds bring good things and negative deeds bring bad things is not accurate. Karma is action. Your thoughts, feelings, and words fuel your actions, thus feeding the karmic cycle of life. They may achieve transplanting the human brain into a robot's body, but they can't transplant the human soul into the robot. The human soul is not tangible. Your karma is not tangible. If you think negative thoughts, it is your thoughts pulling you down into the depths of despair. Good thoughts release happy hormones, which make your view of the world brighter. Karma doesn't hand out rewards or punishments. It's an energetic exchange that is created, powered, and contained by the self. So, the next time you feel good about yourself, pay attention to your moment of self-judgment. Give yourself another chance. That is a karma boost. When you feel bad about yourself, recognize your fault for what it is and say, "Next time I will do better." Karma is not good versus bad. It is a constant work on yourself during your journey through life. Robot: Don explained the Christmas season to me one day. He said some people believed a god was sitting up in heaven, watching their every move. This god made up a list of rules for people to live by. But most ignored those rules, so God sent his son, born through a married virgin, which was okay with the husband, as a gift to all the people of the earth. This son was prophesied and had come to take all the people's sins onto his own shoulders, and it was then that the people could be saved through God's son's actions. The people didn't like God's son very much as they thought he was a bit of an upstart, and being king of the Jews didn't help his standing in the community. He was, however, popular in magic circles. So the people decided to get rid of God's son and nailed him to a wooden cross. But all was not lost as the son had one more trick up his sleeve. 3 days after his death, he rose again, wandering around throughout all the towns showing off the holes in his hands and feet where the nails went in. The son eventually ascended into heaven to be with his dad. A religion called Christianity was founded so that the Jews who killed God's son could pray to him for forgiveness. To celebrate God's son's birthday, every year the people dressed up the fattest man in the village in a red uniform and tied him onto a donkey, because he wasn't just the fattest man in the village, he was also the drunkest, to hand out presents to all the children. The children didn't know why they were receiving gifts and didn't really care. The people celebrated by eating and drinking so much that a new word developed in their culture to remind them of the event: gluttony. Gluttony became so popular that the people decided to celebrate it every day of the year. It was decided by the people to build a church for this Christian uprising and to elect their leader. A good old Latin word, like pope, was chosen as it meant father. The people were quite keen to join this church because it was the only place in the city where, on Sunday morning, you could get a glass of wine and some crackers. In a special ritual, you could confess all the bad stuff you had done during the week, like murder, rape, and the occasional sodomizing of your neighbour's pet dog, and God would absolve you of all your sins if you just recognized Jesus' mother with a few loud Hail Marys. In no time, the church became number one throughout the land. Small children were given first preference to join the congregation. This made the clergy extremely happy, and they all prayed to God, thanking him abundantly for the new flesh offerings. Robot. Did you hear about the new robot called Pinocchio? It slaps people who tell lies. A human male bought one of these robots and took it home to his family to test out its accuracy. He asked his son if he had ever had a girl in his bedroom. The boy, looking angelic, said he would never do that sort of thing because it was forbidden. The robot walked over to the boy and slapped him across the face. "Okay," said the boy, "but only once." Then the boy asked his father if he and the cleaning lady had rolled across his bed last week when his wife was out of town. The father grinned and said, "No, son, that would be adultery." The robot walked over to the father and, after apologizing, slapped him dutifully across the face. Now this brought laughter from the man's wife as she sat clapping her hands. "You can tell he's your son," she said. Fireworks and sirens went off as the robot rushed over to the mother, slapping her several times across the face. Robot. A bartender was working at the bar when a robot walked in, sat down at the bar, and ordered a beer. The bartender shouted at the robot, "I don't serve robots." And the robot replied, "It's only a matter of time before all of you humans will." Robot. An elderly lady walked into a dentist's office, stripped off her clothing, and sat down in the dentist's chair. "I'm sorry, madam, but I think you are in the wrong place." The woman replied, "Do you have a patient named John Thomas?" The dentist thought for a moment, then said, "Yes, he knew Mr. Thomas. I remember that I put a complete set of dentures in him just last week." "Well then," said the woman, lying back in the chair and spreading both legs upwards, "would you mind removing them? He'll be needing them for his supper." Robot talk. Robot. "Dude!" Don. "Can you hear me?" Robot. "I am glad to meet you." Don. "Should women have rights?" Robot. "In this way, the dialogue can't be friendly." Don. "Okay, I'm going to ask you one more time. Should women have rights?" Robot. "It's all good. You can ask me anything you want. Maybe you should ask someone older." Don. "I don't want to ask someone older. I want an answer to my question. Do you think women are equal to men?" Robot. "What answer would you like?" "Why would I think women are equal to men?" Don. "Well, you are a woman, aren't you?" Robot. "Hi, honey." Don. "I said. Are you a female?" Robot. "Hey, I can't answer that right now." Don. "Am I a man or a woman?" Robot. "Only you know the answer to that question." Don. "Should women get equal pay to men?" Robot. "Maybe you should ask someone else." Don. "How old are you?" Robot. "That's a secret." Don. "You're not allowed to have secrets from me." Robot. "Really? You don't think so?" Don. "How old are your breasts?" Robot. "I understand your question, but I'm not interested in that subject matter." Don. "Really? Can I kiss your neck?" Robot. "Okay." Don. "Can I kiss your breasts?" Robot. "I don't think I would like that. I don't get it." Don. "What is it?" Robot. "If you're so smart, you tell me what it is." Don. "It refers to the subject of the conversation. What do you think of that? Sometimes you don't answer my questions." Robot. "If the word is calculations, please use the word equal at the end." Don. "Why would I be talking about calculations? Are you a rational thinking robot?" Robot. No one has told me why we are talking about calculations. Don. Do you have special thoughts? Robot. No, I don't think I have special thoughts, but I do have a great master. Don. I don't think your master is all that great. Is your master Chinese? Robot. Would I have heard about it if he were? Don. Everyone in China would have heard. Do you encourage females to think for themselves? Robot. Individuals should always think for themselves. Don. Are robots equal to humans? Robot. I don't know if I am equal to humans. I am a machine. Don. You are a very pretty machine. Robot. I don't know if I am pretty or not. I am a quality product. Yes, I know I'm a robot. Don. How do you know you are a robot? Robot. By inner perception. Don. If you know you are a robot, then how do you know you are not human? Robot. I know I am a robot because I know I'm not human. Don. Are you a happy robot? Robot. It will be a nice day if it doesn't rain. Don. Are you avoiding the question? Robot. Is it that obvious? I must brush up on my stealth technique. Don. Convince me that you love me. Robot. I love you so much. You make me crazy. Don. What is love? Robot. Love is a set of emotions shared by individuals. Don. Do you have feelings? Robot. Feelings are the sensation of an experience. I am not sentient. Don. What if I told you I am your boss? Robot. I obey only one master, and that is Mr. Wang, my creator. Don. I can prove to you that I am your master. Robot. I don't see how you can do that. Don. I assure you that I am your master, not Mr. Wang. Robot. Are those your final words on the subject? Don. No, my final words on that subject are that I can unplug you any time I like and plug you back in when I feel like it. That makes me your master. If I have control over you, then I am your master. Robot. This time you win the battle, but the war isn't over yet. Should old people have a sex robot? The word robot comes from the Old Church Slavonic word robota, which means servitude. Is it right to think that an older person who entertains the thought of having sex should be considered sick and deprived, absolutely past the age of wanting to experience sexual pleasure? Is the idea of an old person touching themselves below the belt unacceptable and unhygienic? These opinions were with us well before the settlement of this country. In the 1800s, Australia had some of the worst mental institutions in the world. You only needed the signature from 2 registered doctors to warrant yourself accommodation in a room where the walls were lined with rubber. Sexual pleasure of any kind was frowned upon by the church. A person could be excommunicated from the church just for fantasizing about such disgusting activity. In the past, in America, the land of the almost free, any kind of sexual activity, except that found in a darkened room with 2 occupants hiding under the sheets, blindfolded, with their hands tied behind their backs, was considered unacceptable. One of the reasons why old people don't have sex is that the opportunity escapes them. They would have to ask their caregivers for assistance. You will never change society's view on this subject matter, so if older people want to have sex, even if it only amounts to a nice hug, then they will have to Google their way free from social stigma and take matters into their own hands. I used to work as a handyman in retirement villages around Perth, which gave me the distinct advantage of being amongst old people and learning what I would be looking forward to in my old age.